Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Trevor, if you haven't joined me before. Today we are diving into the very real and very strange truth that you've lived before. So let us take a look not only at reincarnation, but how past, present and future are all one. And when we take a look at it, we'll get a clear understanding of how it really works, this past, present and future. Remember the olden day movies where the light would project the images onto a screen? So imagine from the divine mind, this simulation is projected from that creative force, and we find ourselves in this simulation. So let's have a look at how we find ourselves in here, why we don't remember, and how to remember not only who we were, but who we're going to be in the future, and how this time of past, present, future is all one, and how this seemingly straight line fits into the ancient Maya cosmic clock of time and space, and how it was that the ancient Maya, performed rituals in ancient times that would allow one to remember one's lives in future times, especially times like now, when it becomes relevant and necessary for what the world is going to be going through. So if you can imagine God streams a movie, you are in that movie. So think of it as light, as it is in the spirit world. They stream a movie and you see these scenes unfolding around you, and you can embed yourself in these scenes or watch it externally. So it is with your past lives. So imagine there is a straight line of past, present and future. So if we are in the present now and the future is just before us, and as we pull that future towards us and it becomes this sacred moment in the simulation, as we go through that moment, it already dies and it's moved to the past. So if you can observe the past being the present, surely the future also exists on this timeline. So it's quite an interesting concept, especially when you start to see it yourself clairvoyantly. So let's take a deeper look. Firstly, most people in the world, believe it or not, believe in reincarnation. Approximately 80% of the world's population believe in it. And you would say, oh well, there's so many Christians that don't, but we've got to also realize a lot of Christians that still follow Christianity but believe in reincarnation. And when we look at the ancient scriptures, the biblical scriptures, the references to reincarnation were removed. And if you haven't seen this before, you can do the research. So there was a woman that removed all the references and text of the return of the soul. When in the Akashic Records or looking at your book of life, you can not only stream or enter your past, present or future, you can flip through chapters or go to important events in important lives without having to go through all that detail. And also this is how the ancient beings work when they scan us. So if you are in a state of higher consciousness, so you've let go of the self, and you're in that magnetic state, and one of these beings arrives, especially the extraterrestrials. So how they communicate is obviously with magnetism, with these cosmic forces. And they will send their vibration into you, and you can feel them scanning through your soul, all your memories. And it's not like they're only extracting, they also share, because they are the ones that share ancient wisdom with you. So it really is a give and take here. So when you are looking at your own book of life, you are taken to specific moments, just like this moment before I started recording was the future, and it's become the now. And as you've watched it, it disappears into the past. And we've also got to realize, clairvoyantly, if you do see the future in your meditations or in your dreams, what are you actually seeing? Well, you're seeing something that already exists in the mind of God, which also makes one think, can one change the future if it's existing in God's mind, in this simulation, this created construct that we call reality? So we have died many, many, many times over and over. Is it hundreds of times? Is it thousands of times? And this whole mechanism of reincarnation is really an evolutionary process. So in other words, we haven't really been born yet until we reach a state of cosmic consciousness. So all this is really a dream, as real as it is, this simulation. And when we start to awaken and start to remember, we start to see this as a dream. And this is a birthing period that allows us to awaken or going to a state of remembering. And when we go into that state of higher consciousness, that's actually when the ancient Maya cosmic clock starts to move. In other words, you start to remember not only this life, but not the future lives, past lives, and your life in the spirit world. So it's the immortal part of you, that part of you that's in the spirit world, that allows you to start remembering. Because these past life memories are not sitting embedded in your physical brain, it's more around your brain, or it's coming through the seat of the soul, in other words, through your mind, through your visions in the matrix. Coming back to that stream of past, present and future. So a simple way also to remember it is if you look at your school career. So when you left school, that part of your life died off, you never went back. You could still see it, but you never went back to it, it became the past. So every moment in this sacred simulation, and why I say sacred, because we're never going to get these simulations again. You can enter them, experience it again, but you're never going to live it again, because that whole mechanism of evolution is pushing us forward. Our souls are now moving into a higher state of consciousness. Earth reality is moving towards space, towards the cosmic reality. And when we understand the Akashic Records, well, this is the Akashic Records. Whatever you see, smell, taste, experience, and aware of in that moment is the Akashic Records. Whether it is the past or the future. So if you look into the future or the past, all you're doing is seeing what was happening in that moment. What was in that room, what did it smell like, what were you experiencing? That is the Akashic Records. It's that moment of truth. We've also got to realize that we come into this life with certain characteristics and certain traits. And as we get older, our past lives play an impact on where we are going. So those habits, those things we were involved with in our past lives start to creep back into our lives, and it comes through the heart seed atom that pumps this into the hormones. So we start to feel those impressions of our past lives, and this is really what we call karma, and those desires. So that makes us who we are. So the past 4 lives really make us who we are at the moment. Although all the lives that brought us to this point, it's the last 4 lives that we're still paying that karmic debt. And the whole idea about remembering and awakening is really about healing, so that you can find the wholeness of who you really are. Not all those past lives, not all the future lives, but who you are in this moment. But truly who you are as a spirit being, the same person you've always been. When we look at a few examples here, it's easy to see a vision, but it's not easy to understand a vision that you actually lived a life as that, even if you've just been shown this glimpse. But when you go through an initiation, or when you page through the Akashic Records, you can not only observe it, but you can enter it as if you're living that reality again. So like I said before, just to understand the process of past, present and future. So if you see the straight line of past, present, future, so imagine you extract yourself out this moment, your astral project, or you leave your body in a state of higher consciousness. So your physical form is here. So you can move back to the past and embed yourself in the past in any of those moments. That is the Akashic Records. You're seeing the truth of what is and what was. So you can extract yourself out there and move forward to the future and embed yourself into a future life. But we also need to remember a lot of what we're going through now is also affecting our future lives. In other words, it's creating it. So even though some of it is written, those lives are still unfolding in terms of what we do in this life. Besides the deja vus and echoes of the past, my first rememberings, it comes in different ways. So I'll give you an example. So I just moved into a new place, and this place had red face bricks and tiles. So everything had this red color to it. And as I was climbing up the stairway outside, all this red energy and that moment of climbing triggered the moment of my past life when I was a Maya, climbing up the red pyramids or in their strange temples. So that was really an echo, but it was a flash in my consciousness as if I was there for one moment while walking up the stairs. It only took a few seconds. And the next moment when I was initiated in meditation, the ancient beings took me back to my life as a Maya, and they kept showing me all these different facets of my previous life. So As I said before, you can see your life externally, where you're an observer watching yourself, what you're going through, or you can embed yourself in that energy and become part of it again. Then those memories are embedded in your physical brain, in the memory cells, and not just in your soul. So we're also going to become aware that a lot of people in our lives, whether it's at home, at work, these people come with us from previous lives. Not all of them, some of them. And also when you meet certain people, sometimes there's an instant attraction or some instant force that pulls you together. So this is through past lives. You're recognizing someone from a previous life. And it's not always as simple as what it seems. So the veil is thin and you're starting to see through it. Starting to remember your past lives. Remembering past lives is natural. It's a natural process that humanity should go through. So how do we get to this point? Well, the first step is really we need to purify the bloodstream. So once you purify your bloodstream and eat all foods and correctly, it is easier to dream and it's easier to see visions. That is the first step. So there are some other ways we get to a state of higher consciousness, or what we call the holy breath, that breathless Zen moment in time. So I'm going to bring some of these through in future videos. So if you want to see how to enter your own inner self and reach those deep states where you can start to perceive and understand not only yourself, but your past, your present and your future. Because really walking into the future, we're walking in the dark until the light is switched on, and then we can actually see where we are going on this journey, this simulation we call life. I've also created a video on future lives. If you want to watch it, I'll leave a link in the description box below. And the question you should ask yourself, not only who you were, but who you're really becoming. I hope you like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. And leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.